Right. What up, though, people? It's your boy, Detroit Kool-Aid, and I'm rocking out with Mr. Everything over here, Jeff Iafrady. And let's get that drum roll. The legend is here. Hey, Detroit News, Rod Beard. Bro, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's just been a long week. So
it feels like that. It feels like that, man. I told
you. And
Jeff
it's only
Wednesday.
Morning.
What'd you say?
It's only Wednesday.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
See, the way Rod said that, too, like.
We're all just dragging.
It's only Wednesday.
I have no Kool-Aid.
No, we got
coffee,
nothing.
No tea, no anything, man. Sheesh. But I think we got a good one to start. This was really on my mind since I've been talking about the teal, and everybody's been talking about, hey, teal jerseys, and everybody talks about Grant Hill. And then we asked people, do you know anybody else from that era? And they're like, and it surprises me sometimes when most people don't even mention Ben Wallace or Jerry Stackhouse, you know. But it got me to think, who is your teal five, your top five players who've worn the teal? And we're going to also include this year's group of Pistons since we know that they're going to wear the teal jerseys. I'm going to start with Jeff.
Well, at point guard, Cade Cunningham, obviously. I gotta stick with. I was thinking about Lindsey Hunter, but then I'm like, wait, why would I do that? I'll stick with Cade Cunningham. And then
Chucky Atkins would like a word with you.
Yeah.
Boy, number 7.
Chucky Atkins too. I was thinking, okay, so at the 2-guard spot, I was thinking about Jaden Ivey, but then I gotta pay homage. I'm gonna go do Joe Dumars. I'm gonna go Joe Dumars. It's older Joe Dumars, but man, he can still shoot. And him next to Cade, that'd be amazing to watch.
That is a good distinction. It is older Joe D,
but he still got he can still shoot that thing though.
All right, but that's a good one. We're gonna come back to that.
And then at the 3 spot, I'm going Jerry Stackhouse. I met him yesterday, man. Holy hell, I was starstruck.
I saw the picture.
I really was, man. Like, he is the most humble. And I'm kind of gassing him up a little bit, but he is the most genuine, nicest guy ever. So he's definitely at my 3 spot. 4, I'm going Grant Hill, of course. And then at the 5, this
Eric Montross.
This one, Bison Deli. Bison.
Otis Thorpe. Otis Thorpe.
I had a couple.
Otis Thorpe. Let's go.
God. I'm gonna. The easy answer for me, and I'm sticking by it, and I know it doesn't really make sense because Grant was traded for him. I'm going Ben Wallace.
Let's go.
He was at the back half of it. I was thinking of Bison Deli too, but God, now you're getting to the bottom of the barrel at this point. So yeah. I'll roll with Ben Wallace though. That's my 5.
Yeah, you know what? And that's why I was like, I have a feeling that Jeff is going to kind of go with the 5 that I had, and it's the same. But I had a hard time as well with Joe Dumars and Jaden Ivey. And I like the fact that you said, hey, that your mindset looked at it from the standpoint of the time that they even wore the jersey, rather than just saying, I'm going to take Joe Dumars. He was in the teal era, but I'm going to take legendary Joe rather than end of career Joe. That actually, to me, makes it a little bit more tough between Ivy and Joe Dumars. Yeah. But we know what Dumars was.
Yeah, I haven't seen Jaden play, so if part of me is like, if I pick Jaden, am I being am I drinking the Kool-Aid? I don't know. I'm sticking with the legend. I'm going Joe D, though.
Yep. Hey, and listen, you guys, put your 5. Hey, you know what? Put your 5, and we want your 6 man. Put your 5 and your 6 man in the comment. Rod, you got to fill us in, brother. Who is your teal 5?
All right. At point guard, I'm going John Crotty. I can't even say it with a straight
Come on, Rod.
Corey Joseph of his time.
Yeah.
Oh, man. No, I'm going Cade. Yeah. I'm running Stack at the 2. Ooh. Grant at the 3.
Ooh.
If we're playing in this era, I'm going T. Mills.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Because you can run T. Mills and JYD at the 4, and you could have a nice athletic sort of thing. And then I'll go with at the 5. I'll go with Isaiah Stewart. That I think his time is kind of timeless. And this isn't the good Ben Wallace yet. He's just kind of tall. But when you think about early years Ben Wallace and Isaiah Stewart right now, before he really became Ben Wallace, aren't they kind of the same cat, but Stewart shoots a little bit better?
Yeah.
Well, that's a great distinction.
No, he's a good point.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. You know, when we have to look at it from that angle, and it starts to make this list, especially the ones we came up with, it makes it a little bit more parsable. I look at that Joe Dumars and that Jaden Ivey, and I know we have to see what he's going to be. But in terms of the potential, in terms of the hype,
right,
that gets a little bit tougher between, you know, old Joe, who was a shooter still, you know, and Ivy. Like, did Allen Houston wear the teal, or was he traded just before?
I don't think he did. Yeah, I don't think he
before?
was a teal guy. Yeah.
Yep. But you know what? As it relates to the Ben Wallace and Isaiah Stewart one, it's like you see the same type of ferocity, you know, that Stewart plays with that we saw in Ben Wallace. But you're right, that offensive edge that he brings to the game, it gives him an opportunity to kind of be at that time that Ben Wallace was a little bit better in that lineup.
And I think he's got more defensive potential too. Like I think he can get. And I don't know if he'll be Ben Wallace defensively, but I think he could certainly be, you know, I hate saying the word, but like a poor man's Ben Wallace. He could certainly still have that impact, but offensively, no question, I think he'll be better. Oh, no question, because of his shooting ability, like Rod said.
Yep,
he can stretch the floor.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're allowing these players to work at their craft, work at some of the things that they want to, and to prove it, to show it.
Absolutely.
But it's not just kind of wild, just get out there and do what you do. There's something we're going to get into a little bit later, a quote that I found from Troy Weaver that kind of speaks to that. You know, and as it relates to Isaiah Stewart, they knew that he had some shooting ability beforehand. So it's really awesome to see them really get into full-on player development mode with their young guys. I don't know if you guys out there in Pistons world who have doubted Dwayne Casey or who was a supporter of him, you know, let us know, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you seeing as it relates to the player development? We got to see these guys a little bit in Summer League. We got to see kind of what they're working on. And I do believe that this is a season where they're going to prove that they're taking the right steps forward and not just still working at things. I believe Isaiah Stewart will be somebody that has to be respected at that three-point line. So
they'll know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, then who is the sixth man? 6 and 7. Because I know we go Ivy, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go Ivy. Yeah, if I want to pay some homage, maybe throw in Lindsey Hunter in there. But no, I'm going to go Jaden Ivey.
Ivy, then if we went farther, then yeah, that's when we get into some of the players that Rod mentioned. You know, you're looking at Lindsey Hunter. That's somebody you brought up earlier. Yeah. We're also getting into Junkyard Dog. Do you guys remember Jerome Williams?
Yeah, Jerome.
Yep.
That's another player who all out heart, hustle, work, scrappiness. It was so funny. Deuce and I were talking about this on the pod the other day, that it was interesting. We saw another player come to the Pistons and Mikey Moore and want to be, you know, scrappy dog to Jerome Williams, Junkyard Dog. Like, that's awesome to see how infectious his style of play was, how authentic it was. You know, I believe that players like that should be celebrated, similar to how we celebrate players like Nate Burleson from the Lions. If we're going to celebrate people like Don Kelly and Brandon Inge from the Tigers, Junkyard Dog put in that work. He just was in the wrong era, man. The wrong time with the Pistons.
Completely wrong era. Yep, agreed.
Yep. But there's something significant that happened this summer. We traded who we believe was going to be, at one point in time, the Pistons' top player. And we did talk about it a little bit, but it just kind of flew. And I get it.
Yeah.
Where we're headed, the players that the Pistons have right now, I get why the noise was kind of quieted, because we're all excited. But we are losing some things with Jerami Grant being traded to Portland. And what I want to ask you guys is this. There's two questions here. It's really multi-layered. Are we underestimating what the Pistons are losing with Jerami Grant? And then what have they lost? You know, we know that they've lost something. How are they going to fill this? The one thing that I see right away is just his versatility on defense, as well as his consistent, I would say dependability.
I think
with his back to the basket as a scorer.
Yeah, dependability. I think that's a good word for it too.
Yeah, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it, Rod.
Well, I think it's a lot. It's significant, and people may not. They want to poo-poo it and say that they got better. They they're going to have to figure out a way to fill that gap of those 20 points a game. And I think we kind of alluded to it during the season, is at the deadline, was kind of, if you trade that guy, where are you getting 20 points a game from? Let's give Ivy 10 or 12. Can you automatically give Cade that other 8? Or Sadiq? Or you got to be kind of careful about how you spread those points around, and just in theory and say, oh, well, yeah, this guy is going to fill that role. And I forget what Joseph's average was, but that's, you start piling those points up. Those points don't automatically go to Ivy. Kojo's points go to Ivy, and then kind of you got to spread those 20 around. But it is that ease of, if you just wanted to run an ISO, you could just toss it into Jerami and say, go do something. And he could do that. And defensively, the same way that Portland was itching for that kind of 6'8", 6'9" forward that can guard kind of anybody and help you protect the rim. Now the Pistons don't have that defensively. And where do you kind of get that?
Yeah, from the wing position, I'm just sitting here like, just at all from the wing and the 4, they've lost a lot. Like, can we depend on Marvin Bagley at the 4 position to defend the way that Jerami Grant did?
No.
You know, the hope is that Jalen Duren can show a certain type of prowess to be able to defend the 4s and the 5s that way, but can he defend 3s? You know what I mean? Right. Maybe from the weak side he can help out, but that's something that as I continue to look at it, as we continue to, you know, have fun with the Jerami Grant stuff on the other podcasts and such, I was like, wait a second. There's a lot that we're losing here, and I don't think that we've necessarily replaced it. You know, his defensive versatility and his ability to know, you know, for as much as people complain about his offense, I believe once he got healthy, second half of the season, playing with Cade, playing with better players because the roster was more healthy. Say what you will about Kelly Olynyk, but him being there, it helps his roster. I thought that Jerami Grant proved to be a very, very, as Rob put it, dependable scorer, and as you put it as well earlier, dependable. You know, but Jeff, I want to get your thoughts on it. Are we underestimating it? And how do the Pistons deal with the loss of Jerami Grant?
Well, it's a tough loss. I'll put it that way. Like 20 points per game isn't easy to replace, but more importantly, I wouldn't even say I'm worried about the 20 points. I'm more worried about the defensively, the versatility that he brings. Because the 20 points, like, you know, Rod mentioned it. If you give Jaden Ivey 13, 14 points, whatever it is, 12, 13, 14 points, I think you can give Cade an extra 3, Sadiq 3, Isaiah Stewart 3. I mean, that's like, there you go. But still, you're still losing out defensively. That's my biggest issue with this whole thing, because if you have Bagley starting, the biggest question with Bagley is defensively, like perimeter wise. Like Jerami can guard, you know, 1 through 5, especially on the perimeter, and that's where his value was, on top of being a 20-point scorer, on top of being a guy you can give the ball to late in games and be like, go get a bucket. Mm-hmm. But again, that's the whole point of this team. Like it's the restoration. It's all young guys. They have to learn how to do these things. Like, I'm not too worried about it. I think they will learn. And if anything, it'll allow other guys to step up and take that role that Jerami had. You know, we can look at it like, yes, we're losing a guy like Jerami, but you might be gaining. You know, maybe Jaden Ivey turns into that guy, or Cade becomes even more of a clutch killer down the stretch. So I'm not too worried about it, but offensively, but defensively, I am worried about it, because if you think about it, this is why Isaiah Livers, we've been having so many conversations about Livers. Like, we're hoping Livers can replace that 4 position.
I was sitting at the edge of my seat.
And that's a tough ask.
I was sitting at the edge of my seat saying that was going to be next. That was going to be next. I'm glad you stated. I love this show, guys, because this happens all the time. It's like our topics just, they get through because, hey, the brains are kind of in sync. But Isaiah Livers, I wonder what makes Troy ultimately comfortable. Is it just because, hey, I know I can get Jalen Duren, or is it also because you have a player like Isaiah Livers on the squad as well? Right. You know, when I look at Isaiah Livers, I'm like, yo, he can do a little bit of everything that Jerami Grant used to be able to do, and he can shoot very consistently, or at least that's what we've seen in large stretches. Like,
so here, but go ahead. I got a point too.
Oh no, go on, Rod, definitely.
So this league was kind of, for a long time, was built around your guys like a John Collins, a Kawhi, a PG, a Bron, kind of your 6'8", 6'7", kind of hybrid 3-4 guy. And so that was the luxury in Jerami, is you can say, go guard that dude. and just kind of hold him down because you have the same sort of frame. And LeBron's and the PGs, he doesn't have the weight to kind of guard them and the girth, but he has the size, he has the length that he can bother their shot. So now, just as we're transitioning into Isaiah Livers, he's 6'7". And so that difference between 6'9", 6'7",
right.
Once you start talking about those guys, starts to become bigger. And who's going to go guard Giannis? Giannis was a guy that Jerami could a similar build. So now with those kind of star guys, your Portis, your Bobby Portises, your KDs, guys like that, who guards KD on this team? That's a really tough. Who guards Giannis? Who guards KD? Who guards Brown? Who guards Collins? So, or even a Kelly Oubre. Oubre's maybe a little bit too quick for Livers or maybe for Sadiq. So now you have kind of that. You think about defensively and you say Livers is a good defensive replacement, but just stature wise, it's a little bit different, and quickness wise, it's a little bit different. And maybe defensively as a whole, their whole scheme has to change a little bit for what they ask individual players to do. Maybe with Duren, you've got a guy who can erase and you can do some different stuff. Maybe you allow those point guards to get inside because now you have a little bit different rim protection.
Yeah.
Right. And so maybe now you've got Stewart kind of guarding guys that are a little bit quicker. He's got to get thinner and be a more perimeter player. You're asking guys to do different stuff than you did last year, and that's going to be something to watch.
So trading Jerami Grant is asking these players to take it personally, individually get better, take your steps forward. Cade, Ivy just coming in, Stewart, Sadiq Bay, guys improve defensively. And as these schemes, it has to change because you're right. They don't have anybody that can just throw out on those guys like KD. And I know Paul George is on the decline, but there are guys like Giannis and others that I don't know how we defend them on a one-on-one basis right now. But with the makeup of the team, we got a little bit more athletic. I believe we got much better defensively on the perimeter, in the front court and in the back court. So if we have to switch, I'm okay with seeing Stewart out there on the perimeter. I'm okay with Duren out there on the perimeter. Those were some of the things we talked about. He was erasing shots, allowing people to kind of get ahead of him and then getting in and blocking it and such like that. So to Rod's point, you're right. And I trust in Dwayne Casey, and this has to be some of the things that people are thinking about. Obviously, if you're getting rid of a Jerami Grant, you're not just saying, oh, woe is me as the coach. And the players saying, oh, my goodness, what are we going to do now? So it's going to be an interesting step forward. I'm hoping that the scheme is one that takes advantage of their just speed, athleticism, their plucky hands, getting Killian out in the spaces, in the passing lanes, getting their length, keeping their the elementary and the rudimentary, man, keeping your hands up and things like that.
Yeah, more team help defense.
Yep, the things that we saw to Jalen Duren. All of the talking, staying connected. This season is going to be a lot more interesting because they clearly have a hole to fill. Even if they, by committee, find some way to get by and get through the loss of Jerami Grant on a defensive and offensive end, I still believe the hole right now is a solid wing to kind of replace what Jerami Grant had.
And that may be something else because remember, I think it was number 3 in terms of cap space left at about $10 million left. And so you still got technically on the roster. I don't think Kevin Knox is technically in yet. And you still got Kemba. So there might be other pieces that are in motion depending on, and I don't want to start a whole thing, but if you're looking for another team to jump in this KD to help out and maybe eat some cap and take in some other young players or whatever the case is that they might need to make that trade happen, Pistons could be right there at about $10 million in cap space and a roster that's not yet settled. I'm keeping some antennas up on why they haven't announced Kemba and Kevin Knox just yet.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. I am so glad that you brought that up because it continues to reinforce exactly what we know about Troy Weaver, man. He is keeping all options open, and he's working to make sure this team can be built at the pace that he's seeing it. Rather than saying, hey, we had a good draft, we got some of the players we wanted, we had some good trades. Hey, let's go home. I love the fact that there's still something else that could happen, and Troy's always seeking to make this team better. That is something key. And the Pistons have shown already to be a facilitator in deals like that. That's how we got Duren. The Knicks wanted to be able to go out and sign the player that they wanted to sign. The Pistons said, we have the cap space. So you're right. It's not outside of his – it would be more out of his character to have closed the book on his free agency already rather than to continue to keep these options open. Because you're right. I was sitting here. Did you notice that? They didn't announce these things?
No.
Yeah. And then
I noticed that.
Yeah, when Rod just mentioned it, I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. This is interesting now, man. Hey, I think.
And who have they dealt with the most in this offseason? The Knicks. And what are the Knicks trying to do? They're trying to get Donovan Mitchell. So you leave all of these doors open to, okay, maybe this is a bigger thing than just the Kemba thing. Maybe this is the Kevin Knox thing is something bigger. Let's keep that window open and we can come back and revisit it if you need us somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So it's just Troy just kind of sitting there looking at his phone like, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to just keep scrolling through. But, hey, you might need us a little bit later. Get your boy up if you need me.
It's Troy on Thanksgiving, man. He's going in for seconds.
Yeah.
He's going in for another plate.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's telling me he brought the sweatpants to dinner then. That's what he did. He came ready to lunch. He ain't even wearing a shirt. He said the buttons are not going to work anyway. Dog, I'm here to
give me some turkey, man.
But with that, I do believe that the Pistons have enough, basketball IQ, speed, athleticism, connectiveness, want to, desire. I think that they have a lot of the different intangibles to sneak up there and be like how Charlotte Hornet kind of shot out the cannon, shot out the gates like a cannon to start the season.
I think Memphis too.
Memphis.
I think another one Memphis, man.
Yep. And I sent you guys over the numbers, and I wanted to ask you guys this question as well, because this is basically the expectation episode, or are we underestimating? I know that nobody out there wants to be the one to put the freezing cold take out there on the Pistons, but there's always that team that surprises every year. And the more and more that I look at the numbers, the more and more I look at what the Pistons did to kind of close the season with Cade Cunningham, those numbers speak a little bit different. I know we talk about 23 wins on the season, and it's like, wow, how can you think or believe that this team could have a potential to realistically either absolutely dominate the play-in tournament or, lay claim and stake claim to the 6th seed? When you look at the Pistons post All-Star break last year, when the team got healthy, when they get Jerami Grant back, they got Kelly Olynyk back, Cade Cunningham was healthy and understanding the game a little bit more. They had just come off that big win in Boston just before the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. Their record post All-Star break with Cade Cunningham was 8-12, and there were several close losses. It wasn't as if they were getting completely blown out in these games. They were 8-12. That's a lot better than the winning percentage that they had throughout the season, and it's a whole lot better than like the 0.136% winning percentage that they have without Cade Cunningham. His stats during that same time post All-Star break: 21.1 points per game, 6.5 assists per game, and 5.7 rebounds a game in 20 games. That's the sample size. It's about a quarter of a season, and it's after he got comfortable and showed exactly what we believe he can be. Is there some aspect of underestimating this team out of hesitancy of potentially having that freezing cold take? Because when I look at this, I know that certain teams in the East have gotten better, but why can't this translate to next season? You know what I mean? And that's what I wanted to be able to pose to you all. Hey, definitely put in the comments. What are you feeling about it? But Rod, I got to get you on this first.
Yeah, and I got to roll. But here's what I always do on this. Let me see the schedule first, because they always go out west in October, November. Let me see what the first part of the schedule looked like, because last year was a death schedule from the very beginning. They just had the people that they played they were playing playoff teams. I forget what the number was, but it was like some ridiculous number of playoff teams in the first 20-25 games. Let me see what the schedule is first, and whether they can kind of overcome that. If they can get off to a nice start against some kind of mediocre teams and get some momentum going their way, then we can talk about it. But it is always the schedule that does it, because it'll be something silly like they'll open against the Lakers or something at home. Well, not open against the Lakers, but it'll be somebody like Charlotte that they'll start. Charlotte and Cleveland, Chicago, then they'll play Milwaukee. And it's like, okay, well, what are we expecting from that slate of games to open up? They need a couple of good games where they can get their feet wet. Hey, bring Sacramento in to start the season. Something like that where they have a puncher's chance in the beginning and then they can get rolling.
Man, I 100% feel that, because I remember last year when they came in, it was brutal to start the season, especially with the injuries to Cade and to others. Yep. It was not a fun time, and they didn't get the opportunity to get the chemistry. But I see some of these other numbers as well that continue to just – it's like they have to be talked about. Like even Cade Cunningham, he's a crazy difference maker. He's a crazy difference maker. The net rating when he was sitting during this stretch last year was 5.9. He was a positive 0.59 when playing. When sitting, it's negative 10.7, man. Like
all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Jeff, what are you seeing with this team next year? Like, I know that we've all said that we believe that they can get to the 6th seed. We all said that we believe that their floor is like 30 games. But are we underestimating them at all? Do you see a path for them being a little bit better than what most people are saying? Like, I know a lot of people are saying, hey, in a few years they're going to be this team. But are we underestimating them based on what Cade Cunningham has shown to be?
Well, Jerry said it best yesterday. Jerry Stackhouse, he was saying how, people say 3 to 4 years with this team. He goes, I think it could even be, 1 to 2 years because of how talented they are. But also, a lot of it depends on what Rod said as well, the schedule. You have to see who they play. And the other part of it is you can't really overestimate or underestimate this team because they're all so young. Like, a lot of what they want to do is up to them. We don't know what Jaden Ivey's going to look like. We don't know what Cade's going to look like the second year. Like, there's so many things that are unpredictable. If everything hits and Jaden's, a contender for Rookie of the Year, Cade is a 22, 6-6 guy, and Sadiq's almost 20 points per game, of course, then yes, this team's going to get much better. But if Jaden Ivey struggles, if Cade maybe's a little less, 26-6, he's still getting there. Sadiq is right around his average as usual. Then yes, it's really a coin flip for me. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, maybe in the play-in. But if you're talking playoffs, you're talking 6th seed, and I don't think that's going to happen. But again, you can't predict it. Like, it's like Memphis. Yep. They won 38 games, and the next year they were a 1st seed, or a 2nd seed. Like, you just don't know with a lot of these young teams. So for me, they're unpredictable, but I'm still going to stay. They'll win somewhere in the 30s. I'm still sticking by it.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's where I am too. It just gets you to thinking, because I can definitely I like to say things like this. I like to do this because we do it with the draft picks. We do it with the trades. Nobody on this show, I'm not going to be surprised if the Pistons and Cade Cunningham found a way to get the 6th seed. Do I believe they're going to get that? I don't. And it personally, like the fan of me, it's like, oh, it hurts to say that. But just from the basketball perspective of it, the East got better. It's not necessarily about what the Pistons haven't done, but what the East has done. They've gotten better, man. It's like they've stepped up.
It's like what Rod said too. If you're gonna make the 6th seed, you got to be good teams, and who's guarding great players on those good teams? Yeah. Like, you have to guard Giannis, you have to guard KD, you have to guard. I mean, you can Jason Tatum. Yep. Like, these guys are all in the East, so we'll start there first, guys, before we get to playoff talk. We gotta figure out who's guarding KD.
Yeah. And Rod, I know that you gotta go, brother. Let's give him that drum roll.
Oh yeah, appreciate you, Rod.
Hey, yo, Detroit News. Rod,
man, the myth, the legend.
Let's go. Till next time,
brother. All right, fellas. Yep, we'll catch you.
All right, thank you. And I wanted to bring that up because I wanted to get into our CadeZone. There was an interesting quote that I heard, or that I read, from Troy Weaver as it relates to Cade Cunningham. And there's a couple of them here, man.
What we got?
He has a player comp in here that I think I'm just like, wait, what?
What's the player comp? Mateen Cleaves.
Let me read this to you. Let me read this to you.
How bad is it?
It's one of the legends, man.
Oh, then yeah, we're good.
It's one of the legends. He thinks Cade is going to be one of the greats. Here's the quote, all right? And this is why I had to ask about 6th seed. We saw Memphis make the jump because of how great, realistically, their John Morant is, but also like you said, the rest of that team decided, look, nobody's punking us.
They were like 20-1 without Ja. And you talked about that net rating when Cade's off the floor, man. Like
that matters.
That matters. Like if the Pistons can win without Cade, I'll be impressed.
Yeah.
That's
all
tough.
right. This is a quote from Troy Weaver, man. And hold on, let me make sure I credit this. It's from Sports Illustrated, the Inevitability of Cade Cunningham by Michael Pena. We've definitely quoted him, sourced him a couple times at Woodward Sports because he does great work. So shout out to him. And in this article, Troy Weaver said, Larry Bird was incredible with his mind. Larry Legend, bro. That's the Cade comparison. Hold on. He was just able to play ahead of everybody because of his mentality. And Cade has some of that, Weaver says. I think in time, Cade's mind will allow him to always be a couple steps ahead. If he ever reaches Larry Bird's status, it is over. How you feeling about that, man?
I feel like I've heard Troy make that comparison before, like at a presser. I feel like that question's been asked me. Either it was on draft day or sometime during his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised by it. I get where he's coming from too. Of course, you want to compare your rookies to all-time greats. I mean, that's what you're aiming for with Cade. But a part of that, and before the people comment down below, he's not the shooter Larry Bird is. You can't take it too literally. From what he's saying, his approach, his mind.
Yep.
I agree. And also, I think he's Larry Bird in a way where Larry can get to his spots. Like, he doesn't have to be the fastest player on the court.
Despite the athleticism.
And Cade is athletic. I'm not saying, trust me, he's more athletic than Larry Bird. I'll say that. But Larry can get to his spots. Like, you even if you know Larry's going to be at X on the court, he's still going to get a bucket on you. Like, it's like Luka. Like, you can't do anything. And I think Cade has that in common with him. The playmaking, the IQ. Like, that's why I like making the comparison to LeBron. Also, both number one picks. I'm not saying he will be LeBron, but I'm saying just Larry Bird. You see how we're all have in common, these guys. Larry Bird, LeBron, even Grant Hill. These guys they're just way smarter than everybody else on the court. And I think Cade has that. So I love it.
Yep, and it's interesting, too, because I'm going to read another Troy Weaver quote here, and it's another player that he parallels is Grant Hill.
Yeah, it's good.
That's definitely another one. And it's interesting. Yo, we have a player that is only getting compared to greats and current greats. That's why I thought, man, we have to at least talk about the fact that this team, if Cade Cunningham comes out next year and absolutely takes a step forward, that these articles and his general managers and his coaches and all these people are saying he can take, look out for this team in some regards.
Right.
But it says Weaver remembers the exact moment he realized Cunningham was truly special, scouting him as a 17-year-old at Monteverde Academy. Bro, what do we sit here and say?
Troy knows these guys since they were babies. He was there at the hospital when they were born.
Brother.
He was there. He held them.
It says he got a long rebound on the baseline, and it was a hit ahead, like no dribble, hit ahead to the kid.
He described the play, too.
He still knows the play, bro. He says a full-length outlet pass. It was an incredible play. It's pretty rare to have that size and that length and incredible hands and the mentality and the mental capacity to go with it. You don't see it often. And when you see it, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And that's where then he went on to the parallel to Grant Hill. Actually, Grant Hill was Casey's parallel. That was Coach Casey's parallel.
Yeah.
Like, it's so awesome when we actually sit down to get into these GMs and their personalities and their archetypes and what they're doing, and you continue over and over and over again to see Weaver is on the scene, man. He is on the scene. So when he does say something like, I see this mentality over here that Larry Bird had to always be like a couple steps or ahead of his defenders, even though people went out there, they set out to say, we're going to stop this guy. And it's not that we're saying Cade Cunningham is athletic, but all the knocks that were on Cade Cunningham coming out of college was that he was too slow or he wasn't athletic enough. He couldn't get to his point, his spots, look at him getting stopped in college. And we kept saying it. He's playing with less talent right now around him. He kept getting double teamed. And this double team rate got crazy in the NBA as well, getting double teamed like a star. But he never lost his composure. And when he got to the NBA, everything just sort of blossomed. We continue to tell people over and over and over again, Cade is a methodical player. He's a methodically intelligent player. He understands I don't have to be fast. I can use your momentum against you. Look at his crossovers. Just from a basketball player standpoint, when you're looking at him, you're like, yo, he just you know what he's doing. You know, like even his crossovers, man, his in and outs.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, yo, I don't have to be faster than you. I just have to be more convincing.
And he's got step backs too, man.
The
Like
step
he had
back.
Jokic with one earlier this year.
The step backs, because Luka Doncic, too.
Great space.
Same type of thing. And I think that's what connects these players more than anything. We're not saying that Cade is going to be one of these greats because he has to go out there and prove it. But what connects him to these greats is beyond just the work ethic, is his ability to be great despite anything that detractors say. You know who was king chief of that? Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, man. He was the chief of that. The Bad Boys, they were chiefs of that. The Going to Work Pistons had all those chips on their shoulders. They said Rasheed Wallace was not the type of player that could ever become a champion. Ben Wallace wasn't supposed to even be in the NBA, bro, let alone at Virginia Union D2. Shout out. And that's a beautiful gem. Like, when I think about Cade Cunningham, you know, as a part of our CadeZone and everything, if he comes out here and he puts up those same type of stats as last year, I have to start asking the question, as last year's like after All-Star break, the 21, 22, 23 points, 6, 7, rebounds, 6, 7 assists. I have to start asking the same question that we would ask. If we have to stop Giannis and this guy who's going to stop him, who is stopping Cade? I was looking, and I asked that because and you're right, the team around him has to improve, man. They have to be better because he had nothing. That net rating was whack, bro. But when I looked at his box scores and I looked at the teams that they played, they were losing close games, man, in that stretch. Those 20 games wasn't just fluff games. They were against playoff teams. Atlanta, Cleveland, Boston multiple times, the Clippers, Portland, Philly, Milwaukee, Dallas. And you would think, okay, they lost to Dallas. That was one of the ones that they got kind of worked in. They lost by 20, but it was kind of at the end of the game that they got kind of beat when Cade Cunningham came out the game. But you look at the box scores, he's scoring 25 and 7 and 7. This was a regular occurrence. You know what I'm saying? For him to have raised his scoring average as much as he did, he was scoring at an elite, like at a top of the NBA level, man.
He's getting to that point where it's like, all right, Cade's getting us 25. Who else is stepping up?
Yeah.
Like, guarantee him to get you 25. And 7 and 7.
That's what I'm saying. And when you mix in the fact that if Jaden Ivey comes in and allows that free throw rate to translate at all to the point that he can replace what Jerami Grant at least brought from that standpoint. Jerami Grant was our leading free throw shooter at 5.5 a game.
Yep.
5.5 attempts a game. Hey, what's up, Stick? Boss man's in the building. You know, he was Jaden Ivey's free throw rate in college was very, very similar. So if he can bring at least that to the table, getting somebody to the free throw line, I'm assuming that now Cade is going to get the respect. People keep saying he needs to get his strength up, and yes, he needs to get his strength up and do a few more things, but he deserved to be at the free throw line more than once out of every 10 shot attempts he was going to the free throw line. That's crazy.
Man was getting slapped. We saw it.
Getting slapped. But with Cade Cunningham, man, should the expectation, I know that his individual expectations to make the playoffs, all these guys are saying it. Ivy saying it, Cade said it last year. And we would probably hate them or dislike them a little bit if that wasn't their mentality. But do you believe that, how can I put the question, man? All right, let me put it this way. Barring the schedule, like Rod said, being something manageable, do you see the Pistons hitting that same type of, not Memphis, I'm not going that far, but Charlotte? And that's why I keep bringing it there, because did anybody believe they were going to hit that 6th seed? And that's what I'm saying. This is me basing it on Cade and the reputable improvements that they have brought to the table. That's what I'm saying. I think the team needs to be talked about for this year. I know they got that hole at wing, but Cade Cunningham just makes me think, man. He does.
And what I've noticed with these teams, too, if you look at Charlotte or you look at Memphis, they run through their point guard. And then they have such a great surrounding cast. Like, you know, you could take LaMelo Ball, John Morant. I think Cade's in that conversation as well. And they just got talent around them. Like in Charlotte, they went deep as well. I mean, they had P.J. Washington, they had Miles Bridges before all that stuff happened with Miles. But before that, 20-point scorer, Terry Rozier. And then you have the Memphis Grizzlies. You have Desmond Bane. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. It's the depth. That's the most important thing. I'm not worried about Cade. he's going to be Cade this year. Nobody's going to be able to stop him. I mean, the only person who can stop Cade is really himself if he has a bad shooting night. He's just so, like you mentioned, all the playoff teams he's played against, he plays better against better teams. He steps up his game. And that's the biggest thing you look for in young players, especially down the stretch. What was he, after the All-Star break, he was still up there in clutch points as a rookie.
Yes.
Like he was the closer. And, so it's really up to Jaden Ivey. I think that's the big... That's
my next question.
Big, I guess, domino to fall. It'd be Jaden because that's your co-star. Sadiq, we know what Sadiq's going to bring. And the guy can get you 50 on any given night. But most of the time...
Preaching right now, bro.
He's going to be that solid. I still think he's your third player when you're winning. But who knows? He works his butt off. He could be 2. But, yeah, it's Jaden Ivey. Like, you draft him at 5. You draft him to be your franchise, 2 guard next to Cade. They're supposed to be the dynamic backcourt, alleviate some pressure off of Cade. If Cade's having a bad night... Who steps up? It's Jaden Ivey. When Cade's off the floor, who steps up? It's Jaden Ivey. If Cade gets hurt, God forbid, which I don't think he will, but let's just say, who steps up? Jaden Ivey. See, it all goes back to Jaden Ivey. Now, you need Stewart and Killian
to continue to do what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, it's up to the big dog, and I think it's Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, and that's where I was pushing because clearly Cade's going to do what he's going to do. And I wanted to be able to talk about that and say, maybe I need to change my expectation to this team needs to make the play-in.
That's mine too.
That's where my expectation is. It's not that I believe they're going to make the 6th seed, but if the expectation is that they're going to make the play-in,
then 6th seed is like.
Then 6th seed, if all things go well, like Jaden Ivey steps up and actually is the player we think he can be, then yeah, now it's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie.
Absolutely,
it is. If this team was a little bit. Obviously, where J.J. Redick and other NBA players and college coaches and NBA legends like Jerry Stackhouse see this team in a year or 2. That's me. I'm not putting this team at the 3 or 4. I will drink the 1 or 2 year Kool-Aid.
That's too long.
Yeah. After this season, I'm looking for this team to firmly. We shouldn't be sitting here wondering, man, can they make the 6th seed? We should be sitting here saying, yo, they made the play-in and then they wound up nabbing that 7th seed and they lost in 5 or 6, but they looked good doing it. I'm talking about a whole team full of mattress leg Blakes. That's what I mean. Not just one Blake Griffin going out there giving all the effort. Yeah. I don't want to see anybody out there just kind of, as the people have continued to say, look like Andre Drummond out there. I want to see them go out there and honestly give the effort that we saw Stanley Johnson give in his playoff series, man. Shout out to number 3 Stanley Johnson.
And I think, shout out to Stanley Johnson. We would kill for a guy like Stanley right now.
That mentality?
Mentality defensively. But I got to say, I think also when we're recording this podcast a year from now, we'll be talking about the 6th seed. That'll be our expectation. They should make the playoffs. If you sneak in as a 7th or 8th, okay, still got to play the plan, but this team is on their way. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and this is what I want to ask. All things being equal, we know this our CadeZone us. We spent a little time on here. I wanted to kind of talk it out. I had some thoughts in my mind. And I'm glad that Jeff was able to bring some good insight. But what players? I don't want to just single it to just Jaden Ivey, but what players on this squad need to step up? What do they need to do for this team to firmly be in the play-in, to be a team that can challenge for the 6th seed as we get down to the end of the season? I want you guys to let us know. Put it down in the comments, replies, wherever. Let us know. Who needs to step up, man? What are you looking for? Obviously, we know that Beef Stew, for his limitations that some people say as it relates to potentially rebounding and whatnot, he's adding on to his game to be more effective in other ways while he's out there on the court. So if he's not going to be in the paint, he's at least going to be a threat to knock down a 3. He's going to be a threat to get a heavy block. And I believe this year is the year that we're going to see Stu go out there and actually be a double-double type player. Right. Not the player who's kind of getting it to 11 points, 8 rebounds. I believe this is the year that we see him go out there. If he's looking at the film and making an art of rebounding, if he's not just working on 3-pointers, I believe that Stu working on that part of his game, being a ferocious rebounder with everything else we brought in, I believe that with Jaden Ivey makes this team absolutely formidable as it relates to a 6th seed.
Think about it. I think Isaiah Stewart can be Robert Williams with a jump shot. He has that. Robert Williams is 6'9". He's an incredible shot blocker, rebounder, interior scorer, but he can't shoot. I think Isaiah can be a shooter on top of all that. So just to add on to the who needs to step up question, I think besides Jaden Ivey, that's probably the obvious answer, or Sadiq if you want to throw him in. I would probably argue between Beef Stew or Killian Hayes. I think they'd be 2 guys. If you want to throw Livers in there, this isn't really a wrong answer. It's really it's pick your flavor. For me though, I'm going to say Isaiah Stewart because of his role now. Last year, it's like he's the 5. There's not a lot of pressure on him. He got to attempt some three-pointers down the stretch, but in terms of just his expectation, it's like there wasn't much. But now you see the shot. You see now how much more he'll be utilized at the 4, at the 5. Like he's going to be playing with Duren, with different lineups. He'll be in the lineup, and I think that's important. Small ball 5. So there is going to be more expectation on Isaiah Stewart to get better on the perimeter. He's already improved a lot, but he can be even better. A rebounder like you just hit on, and to be able to be a reliable knockdown three-point shooter. Like there's still pressure there. And when there's guys struggling, you need that spark. And if Isaiah Stewart's, man, like 3 for 4 from deep, like the whole team's going to see that, and it will give him an energy boost. So I'll go Isaiah Stewart, but you can throw Killian in there too.
Yep.
Yeah, he'll be playing minutes
because obviously there are guys that we hope improve, like Isaiah Livers, that they take that next step up. But those guys that actually need to get up to par, get up to pace, and things of that nature. That's where it's like, hey, Stu, can you be a starter?
Yeah.
Killian, can you take command of the bench? Can you take command of a 6th or 7th man role? I think the only other player that kind of stuck out for me was Marvin Bagley.
That's another one, too.
Just defensively, if he can give us a little bit more, just a little bit more. And I continue to hold out concern for that just because I believe he was out of shape and out of, what would you call it? His instinct. When you're not really playing and you're not playing team defense and you're not with your squad and you guys know where your help side is going to be, you know how your guard plays, that stuff matters, man. So, you don't know how this player might release a guy coming back door to you so that let me be there to make sure I can stop the lob or this and the other. I believe that this year, being with your team, knowing their terminology, knowing your defensive schemes, which are going to change this year without Jerami Grant, puts Marvin Bagley in a little bit better position, and this team knows what to ask him to do defensively. If they ask him to go out there and be, Ben Wallace, well, we're going to say they're asking him to do the wrong things.
Yeah.
But he needs to be a little bit better in that department. As it relates to Marvin Bagley, man, any points, any comments?
He could be. I mean, Marvin could be our Rashid for all. I mean, he can knock down shots. He's got the size too. Like that's the thing. It's not like he's undersized, 6'11", with a giant wingspan. Like defensively, it's not a if he can do it. It's not can he do it? It's if he can do it. Like mentally, like can he lock in and be that type of defender? Because the physical tools, he has them. So I'm excited. Bagley's another one as well. See, there's so many red answers. That's why you guys need to comment down below if you have a selective choice, because honestly, I can't really dispute any of these. Like we need everybody to step up. That's pretty much the summary of it.
We do. And honestly, it's interesting because it's getting around a time where those decisions are going to be getting made for those players.
Absolutely.
And contract year times 2 Killian Hayes, that's going to be fun to see him in year 3, year 4. CB Stu, see what Sadiq Bay does. Like I think Sadiq Bay is the player that I am most excited to see his evolution. Like Jay Navi, I feel like I know who he's going to be. Cade Cunningham, I'm like obviously looking forward to seeing players.
No, I feel you on that.
But Sadiq Bay is like almost like the caterpillar.
He's like the X factor.
Yeah, and it's like I'm just waiting to see what comes out of the cocoon.
Yeah.
That's what I'm ready to see, because we saw Beef Stew. We know, all right, cool, he worked on the 3, so we understand what he may bring to the table. But Sadiq Bay, as it relates to, we talking about who should step up, he's the one that I believe, like you said, is the X factor. He's the guy that I'm ready to see, like, did you add ball handling to your repertoire? Did you add the pick and roll? Because these are things that Dwayne Casey said. They're looking to have Sadiq Bay run more and more and more next season. At the time, we didn't know if Jerami Grant was going to be here or not. And Jerami Grant did those types of things. So can he run the pick and roll? Can he do the dribble handoffs effectively? Slimming down a little bit, how can he play the 3 a little bit more effectively? And can he completely overmatch 4s with speed in mid-range and such? So I don't know. I'm looking forward to Sadiq Bay. Let me know what you're looking forward to as it relates to Sadiq Bay. But I got one more topic for you, Jeff.
What's up?
One more, brother. I don't know if I put it on the list. But which current Detroit Pistons, man, do you think would best fit, like your top 3 would best fit in the going to work era? Because I know we're talking about the Teal era, and we're going to celebrate that and talk about the players that need to be, like Grant Hill and Jerry Stackhouse, and obviously Ben Wallace wore for a year, but he didn't even like it. But to go back to the restoration thing, just as we kind of wind up, man, what players already, just from a mentality standpoint, which is something that's been kind of big in our other sub-podcasts this week, just from a mentality standpoint, I understand it. What players do you think best exude the going to work era? If that's what Troy says, that and the bad boys that we're restoring to.
I would say I have two players. It's close. It's between Sadiq and Isaiah Stewart. Those two, like, going to work.
I like Jeff's mind, y'all.
Work?
His basketball mind, bro.
Work. Hey, I appreciate that, brother. Work. That's Sadiq Bay. I mean, that guy, and also if you put him on the going to work Pistons, like you slide him in that 3 spot, coming off the bench either way, like starting instead of Tayshaun. Like that's deadly. And you got a guy that I think could play in any era. Isaiah Stewart's another one. Like I just don't know where you'd put him. I mean, would he replace Rasheed? No. Would he come off the bench? Probably. But I think Sadiq could be able to start and make an impact immediately. So I'd probably say Sadiq. I mean, his shooting ability. Tayshaun was the man. Don't get me wrong. I love Tayshaun. But I think Sadiq would bring an element to that team that would just make them even better. And also a guy who just does not want to leave the gym. And I think those vets would appreciate that. They would love it.
Yeah, yep. That's that. Oh, my goodness, Jeff. Bro, like, those are the players that I was looking at, too. Sadiq Bay was the one who, the more and more we hear him talk, the more and more we hear articles being put out on him. And we
got that dog in him.
He got that dog in him. They have to tell him, bro, go chill out. And even that, it was like he had to do that at the most epic way possible. All right, we'll chill out in the mountains then.
Yeah. Got high elevation.
Yeah, I'm just like, yo, this guy. And then the whole theme of the Joker, taking on the chip, taking on the character and wearing it
Embracing
out there,
it, yeah.
embracing it. That's what I loved. I was like, yo, the bad boys walked with it and the going to work Pistons walked like it too, man. And I believe that Sadiq Bay is very, very important for having that rub off on the other players.
Mm-hmm.
Sadiq Bay walks like, I don't care what number you call me. I'm getting buckets, whether I'm option 1 or option 15. Yo, I'm a problem. And that's that mentality that the going to work Pistons had, man. When they went into that series against the 2004 Lakers, nobody gave them a chance. But the Pistons,
Absolutely.
they just, that same kind of quiet confidence that Joe Dumars from the Bad Boys had and that those going to work Pistons had, man. I just see Sadiq just have it. It's not rattled. He just comes in like, hey, y'all think I'm a 3-point shooter? Ha. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay.
And I think another thing, too, like Sadiq could play without the ball. Like, he could play off ball, on ball. You could play him in so many different situations. Like, we know that 2004 team, they played with togetherness, sharing the rock. And I feel like if you have Sadiq, man, effortlessly just slide right in there.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to make the right play, but he's also going to knock down shots. He'll get the system. Like, the easy answer for me, you want to take the best player, you take Cade. But, like, the difference is it wouldn't be Cade's team. It would be a collective group. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just give the ball to Cade and be like, let's run this offense. So, Sadiq, for me, too, man, like, on ball, off ball, whatever, street ball. Like, you put him in any situation, he's getting buckets. So, I'm going with Sadiq.
And it's interesting because that's the reason why I specifically said the going to work era, because if we took this back to the Bad Boys era, then who would you say is going to be on there? It's Cade.
Yeah, Cade, because he could fit right in.
Yep.
He could fit right in there, man.
Guys like Cade, guys like Ivy.
I'm just thinking about that in my head.
Guys like Bagley and Duran. We got to see what Duran and Ivy are going to bring to the table, but those guys,
imagine Duran on that Bad Boys team. Like Lambeer I love Lambeer, but to have a man,
boy, give me young Rick Horn.
Ooh, sheesh. Yeah,
Yo,
see
Duran,
now we're talking.
Jalen Duran, go watch Rick Mahorn and Bill Lambeer footage, bro. Go do it, bro. This restoration is about everything.
Yeah,
it's about everything Pistons, bro. And yeah, when we go to Bad Boys, I do, man. I just got that chip. I just see that Cade has that chip. And early on, that's what he was talking about. When Cade got drafted by the Pistons, there were pictures that came out of him talking to Chauncey and talking to Zeke, and he had some quotes out there saying, no, we're trying to bring back the Bad Boys. That's what he stated. Because why? What was the imprint of the going to work Pistons? Those Bad Boys. Now, obviously, they put their own spin on it.
Laid the foundation.
Yep, that guys that like Sadiq, I could see them really seamlessly fitting into that team. But Cade on those Bad Boys?
He'd make Isaiah, Joe Dumars, everyone better.
Yep. Yeah, like you said, that point guard driven kind of ball in your hands. It's your show to run. If we need the 50, get us the 50. But if we need 20 assists, get us 20 assists.
Yeah.
Type of thing. I could see, and that's what Zeke provided for those bad boys, man. It was a little bit of everything. Whatever you need tonight, I'm going out there. Unless you're going to piss off Zeke.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm doing my thing. And don't we see that already in Cade? That Phoenix game, bro. And then there was a couple other games where people wanted to get in his face, make him a little mad. The Cleveland game where he absolutely took over. He began to say, no, I'm going to guard Evan Mobley because he got into some foul trouble early in that game and got absolutely peeved. By the time he came back in, he was hitting dagger threes. He was getting I remember, I'm going to get the footage, man. We're just going to talk about it on one of the table talks of that game against Evan Mobley where he decided, I'm going to guard him. I'm guarding your center.
Yeah.
You're a power forward, whatever you want to call him.
That's a dog.
Him. That's a dog. And I remember he kept trying to back down Cade, He couldn't. He tried to turn around to get the turnaround fade. Cade slapped it away, took it down the court. I think he passed it up for the assist or something of that nature. That's what I love about Cade Cunningham and why I relate him to that bad boys era, man.
And he had that dog because the minute he got here, they played Summer League. Who did he go up against?
Yep.
Jalen Green. And that man, Jalen Green, dog, remember that? Jalen Green screaming in his face and Cade sitting there like,
what was his mentality?
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Camera
that face, brother.
He's like, what the hell are you doing? And then at the other end, boom, crossed him out of his shoes. That's it. Silent killer.
Brother, we're going to post that meme back on the Woodward Pistons today. I remember that one, man. I remember that one because he left Jalen Green looking like these. Bro, you're not even reaching in right. What are you reaching at? The picture, the freeze frame is like this. Cade is like, hey.
He's like, and then with the deuces.
Downtown deuce.
But that was just think about that. That was Summer League. And now progression, you talk about Mobley.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Feels like Cade and Killian should switch years, bro.
Right off the jump, man. Cade had it.
Yo.
He had it, man. Even at Oklahoma State, he had it. In those big games.
Yeah.
He's a dog.
Yeah, but I like that, man. Sadiq Bay with the going to work Pistons, Cade with the bad boys. Hey, let us know what you think some of these other Pistons on this current roster. Where do you think that they would fit a little bit more seamlessly? Going to work, bad boys.
Isaiah Stewart though on the bad boys.
Mm-hmm.
He throwing them bows though.
That's where I think
chasing LeBron. He'd be chasing Jordan back then.
Hey, T. Foster, legendary Foster's in the building. We okay? What's good, brother?
Come in here, Terry.
Hey, come on in here, man.
How you doing?
Hey, yes, sir. Buddy boy. Hey, got the legend in here, man. Hey, T. Foss,
Ask
man.
him.
What's up, Adam? Good morning to you, too. He gave us a one-finger salute. T. Foss.
He's just saying you're number one.
Yeah, just number one. T. Foss, you got it. Yeah, ask him. Hey, listen. What player from the current Pistons do you think best fits to what? Going to work first? Would fit in with the going to work Pistons.
Here, sit down.
Well.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to get you. People need to know T. Foss.
Yeah. Got to do it right, man. We got two legends on in one day.
All right. I'm going to go. Let me think about this. I have a initial answer. I want to make sure it's right. I think I will go with Beef Stew.
Hey, let's go.
He might be, a little bit physical, but got some skills. I think he could fit in with them better than anybody else.
I like that. Now, what about the bad boys? Which one from the current team would fit on the bad boys?
Bad boys. I think they could use. Think about that one.
That's the interesting one.
Whoever can beat the most ass.
Yeah.
No, that's true. They already had enough ass kickers on there. Do you need another one?
That's true. Do they need somebody that's a little bit more skilled or a connector? Yeah.
Versatile. I mean, any team you could throw Cade Cunningham, but I'm eliminating him.
I get it. You're trying to challenge yourself.
Right.
Cade could be on any of these teams. I get you.
Could be.
Did we go too easy? Because we said Cade Cunningham for the bad boys. But you also said Beef Stew, though. Jeff also said Beef Stew.
But Cade Cunningham, I mean, you could put him on the 1962 Pistons. I mean, he don't count.
Here's a better one.
I'm going to say the bad boys could use a guy like Jay Ivey. because one,
like the
back then you had to have 3 guards.
Vinny.
So then maybe you replace Vinny with him, but Vinny Johnson was so streaky that maybe you have Jaden Ivey be that energy guy off the bench, and then sometimes he would play the point. Isaiah Thomas didn't play the point all the time, so it was a good change of pace. I think I would like to see Jaden Ivey on that team. The thing you'd be missing though is Vinny Johnson when he would just go nuts and nobody could stop him. But I tell you something, like Vinny Johnson, the Pistons couldn't stop him. Like in practice,
he was working them.
Yeah, he was in
there
Joe,
like Jimmy Butler, bro.
No, he would work Joe and Isaiah, and you knew he was on fire because you go walk into practice, and you hear Isaiah Thomas screaming, "Hee hoo!" That meant they called him who.
Yeah,
a lot of times that meant Vinny was
getting
fire, and he was getting in it.
We got to talk about Vinny. We got to talk about him one day, one of these Thursdays.
All right,
we definitely got to. Sheesh. And here's the fun question, bro. Which one of these current Pistons would fit in with the Josh Smith Pistons?
How about Corey Joseph?
Perfectly fitting.
Kemba Walker?
Yeah, because he ain't going to play.
Maybe. But, hey, you know what? We got another legend in here. Jeff, do you have any questions you want to ask Mr. Terry Foster? Here, brother.
Actually, ask him. Start 5. Let's go. All right, Terry, I do want to ask you one question because we kind of covered it, but for the guys who wore the teal jerseys, you got your Jerry
So
Stackhouse.
we're still speaking, although I've
no, because I know
guys.
because this Terry,
Right,
you do not like the teal jerseys. I
No.
understand this. I do like the teal jerseys, but again, I wasn't there for all the losing, so it's different perspectives. But I'm going to ask you. I know it's going to be tough for you, but make a starting 5 out of the teal jerseys, all the players through that era, the best of the players that you think can make that starting 5, and then you can include this team with this teal jerseys. I want to ask you, because my starting 5, for example, I had Cade, Joe Dumars, older Joe Dumars, and then I had Jerry Stackhouse, Grant Hill, and then Ben Wallace, even though I traded Grant for Ben Wallace, but I still had him in. That's my 5 for the Grant or the teal jersey era.
All right.
What about you?
I would put Stack.
Yep.
Grant Hill. I don't think I would put Joe on there because Joe,
could you, Jaden Ivey?
even though he was older and even though he was starting, he should have been coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Should have.
Yeah, he was what was he, like 36 at the time? Yeah. Something like that.
But if we're including today, you have to include Cade.
Yep. Could replace Dumars with Ivy if you think he's that.
Say Jaden Ivey.
Okay. All right. I like it. Then you can do Stackhouse, Grant Hill.
Yeah.
And then who's your 5?
Oh, that's right. I only have 4.
You got your Bison, Deli. What kind of players are you picking from the teal era?
I think I'd be forced to pick Bison Daly. I was against them signing him. I thought he was really inconsistent.
Yeah.
But they actually did not sign Bison Daly. They signed Brian Williams, and then he turned into Bison Daly.
No, I like his 5 though. That's pretty much we all kind of have a consensus.
And I like how Rod and Terry, both of you guys' 5s were definitely different. Like you and I, our 5s were the same. But Rod, he went with who? Isaiah Stewart.
At the 5, yep.
Yeah, at the 5. And he contemplated Lindsey Hunter, I believe.
Mills. Didn't he have Mills? Yep.
Oh,
T Mills
T.
at the
Mills.
T Mills at the 4.
T Mills and B Stewart were down there.
T. Mills could shoot.
It's true.
Teal 5 in today's era.
Teal 5. I feel dirty even listening to this, but go ahead.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah, I go Grant Hill. Okay, yeah, Grant Hill, Stackhouse, Cade, Ivy, and Ben Wallace. He played in the deal.
He was in the teal. It's true, technically.
Technically, he was in the teal era.
We're just getting rid of the trade, so Grant and him are playing together.
We can do that. You can manipulate history any way you want.
I heard. I like that one, man. Sheesh. And look, one more question to you, Jonah. What current Pistons, man, right now, do you think best fit with the going to work era and then the ones that you think best fit with the bad boys?
That's a tough one.
I know.
Ivy for Bad Boys. Is that what you wanted to?
That's where I went.
And then going to work. Beef stew.
Bam. We must be related.
Did you do the same ones?
Yes. Same one.
Jonah for the win, man. Hey, go blue too.
Bam.
Go blue, baby.
Hey, man, tell the people to find you, man.
Find me on my socials, Andrew_Jonah.
I am going somewhere right now that's going to give me the heebie-jeebies.
What is that? What is that, T-Fox?
Checking out the Tigers.
Oh.
Yeah, my friends. Well, we may not enter the stadium. I'm going down with some friends of mine.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about just hanging out downtown and then maybe going to Union Assembly afterwards.
Hey, that sounds, I was about to say, that sounds pretty awesome. That sounds a little bit better right now, man. That does. But Jeff, let's get in here and shut this down, brother.
All right.
Hey, to the legend. Hey, hold on, T, before you leave. Hey, Jeff, you got to sit down so we can give him the drum roll. Oh, yeah. You got to hear it.
We do this for Rob,
Hey,
right?
we do. We got one more as we close out. Thank you to Andrew Jonah again. He's one of the guys that covered Pistons, the first one that covered Pistons for Woodward Sports. It was my introduction to Woodward Sports and Pistons coverage. And to Terry Foster, the legend, we got to do the drum roll, man. Let's go. What up, though? And people, hey, leave a drum roll in the comments for Terry Foster.
Yes, sir.
Hey, for
the Pistons are talking about giving me a teal package.
No.
Wow.
Yes.
The Pistons talking about getting you a whole teal
I'm gonna pass it
sorbet?
on to you dudes.
Oh, my gosh.
You heard Uncle T, man. He's okay.
Oh, my goodness. Yo, shout out.
I know.
Uncle
Hey,
T.
I was gonna
He's
say.
gonna give us all the teal swag, bro. Yo,
Mm.
I can't wait. Yo, listen.
Let's hope that happens.
I am, bro. Let's get it.
Knock on that. We'll wear it next week or the week after on the pod.
Look, man, for the legend.
Corey Joseph jersey?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, no.
Terry, you can keep
Bro,
that
if
one.
you open up the box and it's a teal Corey Joseph jersey, oh,
You send it right
you
back.
know what?
Terry.
Hey,
Back. Oh,
sheesh.
Ship it right back.
That's funny. But look, for Detroit News, Rod Beard, for Mr. Everything, Jeff Freddy, and Detroit Kool-Aid, this is the Woodward Pistons Podcast. Tune in next time. And you guys better hit the like, the subscribe, all that stuff.